Hi, it is Jannah again with more random yet riveting ramblings. And in this episode, I wanted to talk about two questions that really get on my nerves because I think that they are inappropriate. And a lot of people ask these questions. So the first question is, how is married life? And the second question is, so how do you know each other? Or what is she to you? Or what is he to you? Those are my two questions that I cannot stand because I think that they are inappropriate. And here's why. So, the first question, how is married life? After my mate and I got married, people kept asking me that whenever they saw us, whenever they saw me, and people were asking him as well, but he has a different response than I do. But I, I think that it is inappropriate because number one, if you don't already know how my relationship is, then it's none of your business how it's doing. Because that means that one, we don't have that type of relationship where I would tell you about my relationship. And two, why are you asking? I'm sure that you are trying to be polite because it's a social norm to inquire about someone's relationship. But if you're asking about something so intimate that has nothing to do with you, chances are, like, you just want to be nosy. I mean, granted, I can't assume to know everybody's motivations, but in general, uh, you're operating from a place where you're not understanding just what an intimate thing you're asking about. Because, say for instance, that person and their mate is having a horrible time in their marriage. Do you expect them to tell you that? If you ask me how's married life and I just finished having a horrible argument with my mate, or I just found out that we are incompatible, or I'm contemplating getting out of it, or I just I don't want to be with this person anymore, or would you expect me to tell you those things? And if you don't expect me to tell you when things are bad, why would you expect me to tell you when things are good? We don't have that type of relationship. And it is like not the norm to have this type of response, I know. So if I were to say this to someone would think that I was being unreasonable or rude or um and I think that of course I will have to work on my response, because up to this point I have gone along and just said, oh, it's good, married life is good, but now I'm not doing that. So if somebody asks me this question again, I'm going to inform them about how they're asking about something that's quite intimate. And my relationship's my relationship. The way that I relate to my mate, if I were to tell you how our relationship really is, you wouldn't understand it anyhow, because the way we relate is unlike probably how you think a husband is supposed to relate to his wife, or a wife supposed to relate to her husband, which is why I use the word mate instead of husband or wife. So I can't even really go to those conversations with people that ask me that, because chances are they're not going to get where I'm going anyway. And I really just think that it's none of anybody's business, because they don't know what they could be asking, what they could really be stirring up. And if you don't already have that type of relationship with someone, you should not be inquiring about that relationship, because it has nothing to do with you. Like, for a while after me and Halim went through that ceremony of marrying each other, um, it was really interesting to see how many people showed what their assumptions were about marriage based on the way they responded to the way that Halim and I interact with each other. And for for example, um, when we first got oh no, okay, so let me back up. When we first got together, Halim and I have been best friends since what, 2008, and actively in each other's lives. So we didn't go through the normal conventions of dating each other, being boyfriend and girlfriend and all of that, and then engaged and then get married. We went from being best friends from 10 years to, okay, let's be together. Like, there's more to this. And we got engaged and got married 6 months later. And now we've been married for 4 years. But our relationship is not like any other ones that I know. And within my relationship, I've learned that I define the way that I relate to someone else. No one tells me, oh, this is the type of relationship you want with this person. This is your role. This is his role. No, nobody's telling me that. If this is the relationship I'm having with this person, then I'm going to decide in what way we're going to relate, and if our lifestyles match each other, then we're going to have a bomb life together. And because Halim and our lifestyles matches and what we expect out of a relationship and a connection is the same thing, and we provide it for each other, then we're good. But see, all of these things are not things I would discuss with somebody who just asked me how is married life. So, like, I really don't think that I want to ever answer that question. Because, I mean, of course I will in conversation. If I can vibe with someone and they're asking me, we can actually talk about how important it is, like that type of bond is. If you could go there with me, then I'll go there with you. But if you, for example, home, like if I go back to homecoming or something, to college, and I see somebody like in college that I ain't really know, and then they asking me, oh, I heard you got married, how's married life? I'll be thinking, why do you ask? What makes you inquire about such an intimate relationship? And then they're gonna think I'm weird, and I will have to have the conversation with them about how I think that that's an intimate thing. I'm private. I'm not gonna comment on that, and they'll probably think, oh, that means that they having problems in their relationship. She don't want to talk about it. But no, even if my relationship is good, it's still none of your business. It's mine, and how I'm relating to that person is my business. It's not your business. But again, I am trying to work on that, and I think that my sister, her energy can help me with that, with the way that I respond to people when they ask me things that they should not be asking me. Like this lady, I ran into my neighbor, and I didn't know that was my neighbor, and she just asked. So to me, she's just this random lady who's looking at me, and then she asked me, do you live at so and so, and said my address, and I just looked at her like, what? How do you know where I live? And then my sister steps in and says, yes, she does. Like, she answers politely for me. And I was sitting there thinking, don't tell this lady that I live here. I don't know this lady. But my initial response when someone is asking me something that they have no business asking me is not very polite. And it's not intentional. I'm not trying to be rude. It is really me genuinely thinking, is that your business though? Why are you asking me about that? Is this, do you really think that I have that type of relationship with you? And I know that's too much. Like, they're just asking to be polite. But I do think that certain questions should spawn conversations about things that should not be accepted. Like, if you don't want to tell me, if you think that it's inappropriate for me to just walk up to you and ask you about your vagina and what's it smell like, then it is just as inappropriate for you to come up to me and ask me about my husband and how he's treating me. That's none of your business. Like, that's my business. How he's treating me, it's my business. Like, just like your vagina and the way it smells is your business. Me and what's happening with my mate is my business, unless we're in like a deep conversation and we can go there with each other. But the reason that question bothers me is tied to why question number 2 bothers me too. When people ask, especially when you introduce somebody to somebody, like at your family gathering or something, and they're asking you who this person is to you, or you're introducing somebody to someone, even in like a business setting, a setting where you're not, when you're around people that you know and when you're around people that you don't know, people always want to know, how do you know this person? But if in this scenario, if I'm introducing you to, for example, Halim. I don't like to always say my mate. This is my mate Halim, or this is my sister so and so. This is my coworker. This is my lover. Like, none of how I relate to this person is your business. And if I'm introducing you to this person, you're getting to know that person, not and it's not based on how I relate to that person. How I relate to them has nothing to do with you knowing that person. So I shouldn't be leading with my relationship with that person. I shouldn't be saying my cousin so and so, my friend so and so. I should be saying that person's name, because it's the person who that person is that's more important. If we're in the case where I'm introducing you. But even if I'm not, like, I've been in situations where I've seen this, like at family gatherings and stuff, where you bring somebody new and you don't want to bring them because people want to know about your relationship, or you bring them and people want to know about your relationship. You can't just invite somebody cool to a family gathering because they're cool with you, and like whatever your relationship is, the two of you enjoy being around each other. You want to share this experience with them. So you can't just bring them on merit that, oh, this is just a cool person I just wanted to introduce. Now you got to explain how you relate to this person, and none of that is anybody's business. Because I know with me and my relationships, the type of relationships that I have, if you are inquiring about it, it means you don't know anything about it. And if you don't know anything about it, it's because we don't vibe like that. So you shouldn't be asking me about it. And I think that with me, like, expressing these feelings now, I haven't been in a situation where I've had to explain it. Now I'm in my life where my relationships are changing, and I'm realizing that I don't need to or want to explain my relationships to people. And I'm wondering how this will impact, like, when I'm introducing myself and people to people and they ask me these common questions. I have to figure out a way to respond in a way that opens dialogue about relationships, as opposed to, that ain't none of your damn business. But especially with the second question, with how do you know this person? And I was telling the story to, like, Halim and somebody else. I didn't want to say their name because I don't know if everybody want their name on here, but I was talking to Halim and somebody else, and I was telling them a story, and I was saying the person's name in the story, and they were like, well, who is that? Like, we don't know who that is. And I was like, well, it's just a person. Fuck how I know them. Like, it's just a person in the story. Like, it don't matter how I know them. It's irrelevant to the story. So I throw names out there without explaining how I know the person, because I'm really private. And I know that in our society, we remember who people are based on who they are to other people. So I may say, oh, that's Shauna. And you may say, well, who is Shauna? Oh, that's Pete's little cousin or something. And so you know who that person is through the relationship with them, as opposed to just the person on their name. So I understand that. But I'm talking about in those situations where you could tell somebody's asking you about that person and they don't need to know that information. Like, you don't need to know that I'm in a relationship with this person. You don't need to know how I met that person. That's another personal question. How did you two meet? It is a sweet question sometimes if y'all have like a cute little romantic story of how y'all met each other. But what if it's like personal? Like, y'all had to discuss a lie to tell people how y'all met? Or are you going to say, that's a little bit private? I don't talk about how I know people. I just know people. I relate to them on my own. If you want to form a relationship with them, you get to know them and learn them for yourself. But I really do need to figure out what I'm going to say to people that ask me, how do you know this person? Or tell me more about this relationship. Especially because with my relationship with Halim, I'm realizing that it is unique to people, that people are not used to people getting along in the way that we do. And so sometimes it really does. People just want to know more about how we have gotten to relate to one another, connect to one another in the way that we do, how we share our lives with each other in the way that we do. So I can understand someone asking and inquiring about that, because we've had friends who said, oh, y'all should counsel people, which is weird. I don't ever want to be counseling nobody. But conversations, if you want to hear conversations that he and I had, that could be okay. But I don't know. I do need to figure out how to address it without closing off conversation and without seeming cold, because I don't feel this way like because I'm cold or uptight, or I feel this way because I am private and my relationships are sacred, and the way that I relate to this person is the way that I relate to this person, and because I feel like I'm a bit skeptical or suspicious of people's motivations for asking. And I know that people talk about people. So if I tell you, for example, that I am in a polyamorous relationship with this person, and that's not how you think that type of relationship should be, then I've automatically subjected myself to your judgment, your opinion, and to your mouth that's going to run to other people telling them about my relationship. And I don't like that. Even a hypothetical, I don't like that. Not saying that the person is going to do that. And I do need to work on the assumptions that I'm making about people too. But I am just specifically responding to the people who are asking because they are being nosy and they just want to know and be able to talk about, oh, they got this type of relationship, or they got this, they could do, and those are intimate details that are none of your damn business. And that's how I feel. That's how I feel about it. But again, like as a disclaimer, I have not shared this perspective with people. I haven't been in a situation where I've had to say these things. So this is me working out what is the best way to discuss my feelings about it without being rude to people and without divulging information that I don't want to give. Because I have settled for saying, oh, it's good, when people used to ask me about my marriage. And then when they would ask, like, when are you all having kids? Like, they start asking personal questions that will make me have to have conversations that will reveal parts of myself that I don't think that some people are ready for or are ready to digest without judgment. So I'm trying to steer clear from those situations, those conversations, but I also know I need to run towards them, because now is the time where we can't shy away from having the conversations that may make us seem a certain way. Like, we can't shy away from having conversations because we're worried about the way other people will receive them. We have to share ourselves with people. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to use my words intentionally without misrepresenting myself. But I really do not like it when people ask about how I'm, especially if I know, like, the people I'm bringing around, it's none of your business how we relate to each other. I'm not even bringing them here for you to know nothing about our relationship. I'm bringing them here with me to share an experience with them, not to put you in my business. And a lot of people be trying to jump in your business. But I just wanted to share that was on my mind a lot, and I would love to hear what other people say too. These are conversations that I've had with Halim already, and he's the main person that I talk to, so I'm interested to hear about any comments or thoughts on some of the inappropriate things that people ask about in your relationship, like whether or not they inquire about intimate things that you may feel like, I don't really want to share that with you, and why would you ask me that? But that's all I got now, so I got it out. I feel much better talking it out, and I'm sure that I'll probably do another episode on this, because there's some more questions inappropriate things that I think are inappropriate that people don't seem to think are inappropriate, and I'm trying to figure out what my response should be so that I am pulling people into a conversation, as opposed to saying, if you don't get out my face, that's none of your business. But that's all I got. So that's Jannah with another episode of Random Yet Riveting Ramblings. Until next time.